Two-man game, TMG, get the news fast, AMG, game of two boxes. Name two boxers that hit as hard as this. Yeah, we're cutting to the truth, no, there ain't no narrative. Eyes up on the cup this year, hear the stadium erupt this year. For my team, TMG.
Welcome to episode 59 of the two-man game.
TMG.
TMG.
My voice is sounding bad. TMG. Has my voice gone? TMG. Wow, I've lost my voice.
I don't know what you're doing, bro.
TMG.
Anyway, we're joined by a special member.
Very special.
Someone that actually kind of inspired the idea of a pod. He started before us.
Inspiration, yeah.
Oh, that's mad flaring.
He started it. I think you took some little appearances on that before.
I did, yeah. I mean, it should have been more, with my voiceful opinions, I guess.
They said that
Say the least.
You're too biased. You skip Bayless.
Hey, like I said, I just talk out the truth. Whatever you can do with that.
Mellow Bayless.
The truth. You're Mellow Bayless.
I'm just a hater.
That's what Skip Bayless is. Hater.
I'm just
I'm the truth.
Hey, Skip Bayless, man. Pioneer of the sports debate.
He is. I mean, he's made a living out of quote unquote hating. So,
hey, man.
You know what I mean?
If he can
but no, it's not even hate. He makes a living out of trolling. I call Skip.
You're right the first time. He's an epic hater. Come on, man.
No, when you get to understand Skip more.
What's there to understand about Skip?
He's very nuanced in his hate. Do you know he has he just sprinkles a little bit of truth.
Yeah, he's more of a troller. He's the best troller I've ever seen. Like, especially at his age, like he's too old to be trolling, but that's what pays the bills. I mean, so when he was trolling LeBron with the fitness thing,
He trolled him off.
Shout out Skip. But today we have a very special guest, my brother, my blood, inspirational. He had his own pod, now.net, kind of gave us the inspiration we had needed for this. So always be thankful.
That's mad flaring, guys, man. I'm happy to be here. It's been long overdue. My brother's been telling me for time to jump on, man.
Come on.
You're a busy man. You're a busy man.
We're all busy, man.
I know. Anyway, introduction to the pod, we have to start with the special questions.
Ooh.
Quick fire.
Come.
Okay, Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
City or Liverpool?
Liverpool.
Club or Pep?
Club.
Ali or Mayweather?
Mayweather.
Lakers or Nets?
Lakers.
Fury or AJ?
Fury, man. That one burns me, man. That one burns me.
That burns you?
That one burns. I was at the fight, man. That one burns me, man.
Why when you converted?
It took age. Look, I think AJ is running to his expiry date, man. The next fight, we'll jump into later, but the next fight, I think we are starting to see what AJ can and can't do, and there's a lot more can't than we thought.
I mean, some people say he boxed a great fight. He boxed a great fight, like mentally, for someone that hasn't fought to that kind of level before.
That's fair.
And maybe if he changes his style, comes a more front-footed boxer against you, then maybe it's a different story. Chisora gave him. I thought Chisora had shown AJ the blueprint.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what AJ's going to do, but
AJ's not Chisora, bro. AJ's a better fighter than Chisora, don't get me wrong, but AJ don't like getting hit. AJ doesn't like getting hit. Chisora will walk through a brick wall to hit you.
Yeah.
You can't, that's a different
AJ just needs to come with that mentality. If he wants his belt, back, he has to go through it. Next one, Bard or Spence?
Spence.
First love, football, basketball, boxing.
Football. It's starting to lean towards basketball, but football's my first love, man. Thierry Henry. Yeah.
I was thinking about this. Do you know who was like? Some people say, "Oh yeah, who inspired you to like love football? Like who were you watching?" Do you know Thierry Henry was just like the early days of my football like life.
It was for a lot of people.
So I'm trying to say, I don't think I can say Henry like that. This is the guy that inspired my teenage years.
Okay.
So who did that?
In my teenage years, the guys that were popping were. So you had, this is when Messi and Ronaldo came in, but the guys I was seeing in the Premier League on a week-to-week, but it was like Aguero, Hazard.
Okay, that's fair.
And who was the best player in the Premier League from like 08 to 12? Who would you say? Because it was kind of like Drogba. It was Drogba.
Drogba's up there.
Yeah. Van Persie had like a season.
Lampard was knocking.
Fabregas, to me, Fabregas in those years, I had a special place in my heart. And then obviously he went to Barcelona. So
fair enough. I mean,
painful times.
There's a lot of good players. I mean, I think the first big games I was able to fully be cognizant of was probably the 05 Champions League game, Liverpool comeback, Istanbul. Then obviously Zidane 06, what a tournament he did at the World Cup. So I'd say those were probably my first initial inspiration. Of course, yeah, Henry and that, but Henry was on Sky, so I don't think we were watching week in, week out like that. But yeah, so around that 03, 04, 05, 06 period was when I first got my inspirations. Kaka as well. I think it probably was Ronaldinho actually. Probably was Ronaldinho.
I remember Ronaldinho when he,
especially ITV Champions League.
that game against Chelsea when he
Twist
did,
up JT.
yeah, when he twisted up JT,
Had
I was
man
like,
doing
whoa, this guy's
Had man doing the stanky leg, bro.
Yeah,
Buried in
The
corner.
stanky leg.
Check rooted. And
That's
check,
when I was like, boy.
peak check.
Yeah, that was peak check.
This ain't no Arsenal check. This is
Before the injury.
Before the injury, this is like Czech was on current All Black levels. Actually, All Black's a bit normal, but Czech was up there.
Czech was, I think it was one couple of years, was the best keeper in the world. I mean, the injury came. Unfortunately for him, his injury levels dropped.
Yeah.
Casillas and Buffon were able to maintain because he was right up there with those boys.
I think they were just all. It was the three of them were ahead of everyone.
And then it's unfortunate. I thought it was so sorry because he was on track to be like easily a top 10 keeper of all time.
I think he's still got a claim because his peak was very high.
Yeah, he does. I mean,
I think also like at the time as well when he got his injury, I think Van der Sar started to just shine at United for that period as well.
Kind of a handover.
Van der Sar got a second lease of life because remember you said about Fulham, and when United bought, I was thinking
There were better options.
yeah, now from Fulham, I mean, why you buying? But then he just done it again because I think he was at Ajax before when he won the Champions League.
Yeah.
And then when he was at Fulham, I'm thinking, what are you doing here, really?
But Fulham and Bolton used to get those guys that you thought they were out of their prime. They just used to come through like, oh, sure.
Then that Greek guy, I can't pronounce his name.
Gina,
Stelia Shankapoulos.
Yeah, that obviously JJ, Ivan Campo, ex-dribbler, Gary Speed, even though it's probably a bit past his prime, but still
Still
top
got to chat
top.
about Davis up top.
Kevin Davis,
Yeah.
had Nolan as well. Fam,
That's
Bolton were like a mid-table. They were a comfy mid-table team.
they were dangerous.
Yeah, and look at them now, man.
This is a final question for you. Obviously, you said Henry's your initial inspiration for football. R9 or Henry?
So if I'm being truthful to myself and not being subjectively looking, it's got to be R9. R9, I stand by this, right? Without the injuries, we were deprived. The world was deprived of the best footballer ever. That is a fact.
Ever?
The world was deprived of the best footballer ever.
Ever.
100% the world was deprived of the best. This guy
Ever.
was a gunman. Yeah, without the injuries. And some of these Brazilian players, you know, they don't come from
They
the
don't
best
look after
background.
themselves.
Exactly, yeah. Ronaldo's an anomaly, but if he had that kind of health attitude towards it, right? To stay fit and injury free, this guy was the problem, man. This guy, the world was, in my opinion, was deprived of the best football ever. This guy's a gunman, and I know it's a bit of an out there take, but
Out there.
some people should come on.
So-
Some people will tell me it's out there.
No, my thing is,
he had some his peak years are great, but I necessarily think that the consistency of Ronaldo and Messi is just beyond what Ronaldo could have done. And do you know what we always say? We always do conditions. We always say if he had stayed fit, if he had looked over his body, and that's one thing we need to stop. We need to stop doing. But I say this. You are what I see. You can't be something like you want to be. It's like, do you know there's a time when there was like so many promising players that you should say potential, Walcott. How many years were Don saying potential?
Don't throw Walcott into this on.
No, I'm just saying that people used to say this about so many players. Oxlade-Chamberlain, Walcott, only Sterling out of those group of players that hasn't even reached anything to potential. But we always say potential.
what my rebuttal to that is R9 was the best player in the world pre his injuries.
Yeah, that's true.
From late 98 to 2002, he played like 50 league games. He had a whole season basically not playing a game. Another season not playing a game. And this is my rebuttal. He came back in 2002, tore out the World Cup after playing like 10 games, and still won the Ballon d'Or. So to me, that shows literally you weren't injured, and obviously all other things being equal, you would have been at least one of the best players in the world.
Okay.
So that shows to me, I can safely say, or safely assume rather, that you would have maintained your level of consistency. If you can still come back from those injuries and still come back to be the best player in the world.
How many years is that though? That's like 3 years. How many years is that?
That's what I say. If he didn't have the injury, his was not. Oh, it shoulda, woulda, coulda. He actually was the best. He played in the world. Injuries came back to be the best player in the world. Name me someone else that's done that. All the other examples, they don't do that. They don't come back to that level.
I can't name someone, but but then this is what I will say to you. This is my rebuttal. Yeah. So after he came back from that injury and he was the best player, it was the best player for that World Cup.
Yeah.
How many games is the World Cup? Remember when Mourinho said to Pogba, like, oh, you played well in that World Cup, but how many games is that? How many games is that? That's 7 games, you know? That's 7 games. But after that World Cup, what did he do?
He still played well with Ronaldinho.
He still played, but his standard was never the same.
He was never at that level again, but you know, that's what I'm saying.
And that Brazil team was stacked.
That's true.
They're very stacked.
They were stacked, but you know, those injuries took years off his career.
Okay. So you're saying how many? So let's say this: how many peak years of Ronaldo did we get?
I have to look at it, but probably like 5 or 6.
I think I'll say 5. Peak Ronaldo 5.
And do you know who you're not for not having that many peak years?
Yeah.
Ronaldinho. You say a lot about Ronaldinho not having a lot of peak years.
Yeah, but Ronaldinho did get injured.
He just body.
That's also true.
No, but
his body.
no one's injured. Ronaldinho didn't have catastrophic injuries. Like, all the guys have had catastrophic injuries. Like Ronaldo, like your Jack Wilsheres, your Abu Diabis, blah blah blah. Those guys, they just
Ronaldo's a specimen. It's a specimen.
they don't come back. They don't even come back to be themselves. He came back to being the best player in the world. But I think the thing, what when people try, because I was had that argument with some guy on Instagram for like a few days on a 360 TV. Shout out 360 TV. Like when I did R9, R10, I was like, yo, R10 had his time, no injuries. Yes, R10 happened to win every trophy in the book, but when was he actually the main guy on his teams? For Barcelona, for Barcelona, he was. But the trophies he won with Brazil, that was off the backs of R9 and Rivaldo. You could even argue. I'm not saying
Rivaldo.
I'm not even saying 2002.
Over Ronaldinho for those teams.
2002, Rivaldo was the guy over him. It was Ronaldo, Rivaldo, then Ronaldinho. There's even Cafu.
Wasn't it off his Deportivo season, Rivaldo as well?
Yeah, something like that. Even Cafu and Roberto Carlos could have argued at one point. Don't get me wrong, Ronaldinho still was a big contributor, but there was guys ahead of him. 06 was Ronaldinho's time to shine. What happened to Brazil?
Hey, but Henri knocked them out. That's
what happened. He was getting outplayed by 36-year-old Zidane.
Zidane was. Hey, no. I'm not taking that. Zidane, that tournament. I remember that tournament. Brilliant tournament for my dad.
Whilst that's true, you have to remember that in that season, Zidane saved himself for that World Cup. It was obvious throughout those seasons.
I don't care.
That was his swan song. Like, we all know how it ended.
I don't care. Arsene was coming back off Ballon d'Or season.
But how good was Zidane? Some people think Zidane is one of the greatest.
Yeah, that is true. But if you're Ronaldinho, people tell me you're a top 10 player.
Was Ronaldo not there?
Ronaldo's past his time. He wasn't the main guy anymore. It was Arten's. Yeah, he wasn't the main guy. It's Arten's time to lead the ship. You come on the back of 2 World Player of the Year seasons in a row. Yes, Zidane may have said himself. He's 36. You're like what? You're like 26, something like that.
It was a star-studded game. But France had nearly as many stars as they did.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what prevailed? Zidane was great in that game. Henri ended up being the deciding factor.
It was scored a goal, but Zidane was probably the man of the match that game. He's the man that dictated. But if you're,
Ronaldinho was there. Hey, it's not easy. Brazil since 02, what have they done?
One Copa Americas. That's what I'm saying.
Copa America.
Ronaldinho didn't have the reason of being injured.
How many Copa America?
He didn't have the injury history.
And when it was his time to ride the ship, for Brazil, not so much. And for Barcelona, it was in a couple years. And then eventually got rid of him at 08 prematurely for a guy of his injury record. I mean, R10 had.
That was premature.
I mean, he should have been dipping at that age.
Okay.
Well, he had like 01, 02 to 06, 07.
They sold them to AC, you know.
Yeah.
But obviously, what happened? They saw that a special talent was coming through in Messi, and I guess
they made way for him.
They made way, innit? It's hard for someone to shine. Obviously, in a lot of sports, they normally do this. If you got a young star, he's coming through, and you have an old veteran that, you know, in basketball, like they're taking up all the shots.
He's 28. He shouldn't be a veteran.
No, but at the end of the day, Ronaldinho's lifestyle, they say Ronaldinho's lifestyle was not
healthy.
It was not healthy for the young players coming up. When you got talent, you can sometimes do things that other people can't do and still maintain that level. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And if Ronaldinho, the best player on your team, is doing this, and he's
it's just a horrible example. You can't let that on Messi.
Sometimes you have to go, and he went to a veteran team, and AC Milan where they can handle that. They've got pros in their team.
What did he achieve there? AC Milan.
A couple YouTube highlight bits.
I mean, to be honest,
he licked his lips.
I said earlier on the pod, Ronaldinho is probably my main inspiration for football when I was cognizant of football, because 04, 05, 06. However, as much as I love Ronaldinho, people overrate him.
Hey, this is what I'm saying. We can overrate him, but don't let stats define how you feel about a player. Because you watch Ronaldinho, the eye test is just as important as the stats.
Not the stats.
This is like how I've been reading this week. Yeah, that people are saying
I've been reading.
Yeah, that Di Maria is better than Hazard.
Oh, He has more longevity, that's right.
Yeah, Di Maria is better than Hazard.
So is that
It's
like-
because- but
he has big
if you look at
moments.
the stats, it's very close. It's like you probably lean more to Di Maria if you look at the stats.
Yeah, but
I can say with my eyes, I've seen both of them. I'll take Hazard
no, the
in
reason
prime.
I'll take Hazard is because Di Maria's had these big moments. Ugly had more bigger moments, bigger games. No, Ugly has.
He has.
However, Di Maria didn't have the burden of carrying the ship.
Yeah, that's
Ever.
That's what I said.
There's a difference. That's
That's
why I
it.
use
I'd
the
agree
differentiation
with
between R9 and R10.
I think Di Maria though. I did put a post on Twitter this week saying Di Maria might be the most underrated player on the pitch. I think
that's a shout. That's a shout.
it's between the two. I think Di Maria is so underrated.
He is underrated, and I think the point is, like, I still take Hazard by the way over Di Maria, but I think the point is that it's closer than people would like to think. That people would default without actually looking into it.
Yeah.
Di Maria is very underrated, man. He's had a great career, man. And a lot of people sleep on
Then
him.
if you had the three of Hazard, Di Maria, and Bell, who are you taking?
What, for a season or for
Who
seasons?
has a better career of the three?
He's had a better career.
Because that's the level. But so you had the Messi Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Then you say Neymar's been the third of this it's 10 years.
Yeah.
And then who's the fourth?
A couple of weeks ago, you told me Ramos was the third of this.
If I had to have
Ramos is up there. I'm not gonna put him there. But
if I had to have one for their whole career, start to end, I'm taking Di Maria because he's consistent. He's been more consistent for a longer time. Like we're looking.
he turned out at United though. His flame at United was hard.
Okay.
He was awful flame out.
Here's the thing, right? And I say this about a lot of players. United is the problem. It's a common denominator. You're looking at Memphis Depay, you're looking at Alexis Sanchez, you're looking at Di Maria. United is the common denominator there.
Arguably Pogba as well.
Argue Pogba there. The post-Ferguson era has been shambolic, unplanned for, it's just been inconsistent. I don't mean inconsistent necessarily on the pitch, but inconsistent necessarily off the pitch as well. They've got a lot of I won't delve into this too much, but they've got a lot of players and people in high positions, director of football Ed Woodward, who are inexperienced. They're learning on the job. They're
And it's
learning
not
on
gonna
the job.
change. It's not gonna change when
Exactly.
the new guys come in because they're boys. That's not gonna change.
And the thing is, right, you can't learn on a job at a club like United.
It has to be someone with experience. You know.
You can't learn on a job like a club like United. It's ridiculous. But
Have you seen it? But as you said, I think you've hit the nail on the head. The clubs that have brought in CEOs, people from the top down, they've not had the experience. They've not done well.
yeah,
For example, Arsenal.
that's true.
Vinay
That's true.
hasn't
Painful,
got
but
experience of being a CEO of a big club, and look at the impact he's had on Arsenal.
Yeah.
Whereas Liverpool, they brought in someone that been doing the director of football. They brought people with that kind of experience. City as well. City went and got Barcelona. The guys went Barcelona 5, and look at City. That project is probably one of the best projects, in these shoes.
The execution off the pitch for City is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. They get what Pep wants, 9 out of 10, and they don't dilly-dally around with it. Yes, they've got the resources, and that's one factor, but there's not. I'll draw a comparison, right? Pep wanted Laporte when they didn't have a centre back. Company was phasing out all that. Went and got him cleanly, right? At the time, Laporte wasn't up there centre back at Athletic Bilbao, and there was like, who will get him kind of thing. Right. Switch that to United before the last season when they were in the running for Sancho, and look at how that was. What that tells me is any other club selling to United can now see that they don't know what they're doing. So what is now 50 million a player to you is probably 65, 70. And it's just the off the pitch management doesn't. You can see it come through in the squad construction, because I think this United squad is actually not a great squad.
I think they're
not
top heavy.
Top
They're top heavy. Defensively poor. They haven't adapted to the modern football. Their centre backs, aside from Iran, they're not the centre backs you need to prosper. You need athletic centre backs.
Yep. And
if you're playing front for football,
Press, yeah.
And just on that, there's one obvious thing they should do at the back that they're not doing because it's English. Take off Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
Like, understand that sometimes you spend money on a player and it doesn't turn out the way you want. I'm not saying he can't be a top player, but the way they play and the way he's playing, Lindelof and Barley with Varane do the job.
Yeah, but Varane with any partner,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with
So
it.
you still want to play Maguire in the back three, United?
So here's the thing,
That's
United.
the only thing he fosters.
Here's the thing, right? United are playing a back three to accommodate an 80 million. I'm gonna say I'm leaning towards a mistake at the moment, and that shouldn't be United.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be United. Now Chelsea, I know Chelsea play a back three, but that's a system that Tuchel's grown up with. So it's not to accommodate anyone. Although Rudiger benefits from it, it's not to accommodate anyone. It's to play.
He is.
Bro.
Hey, but we're gonna back four is scary. As a defender,
Tell
I've seen
Chelsea
him.
fans that.
I've seen him in the back four. He doesn't know what to do.
Where's it?
Rudiger is a good footballer. He's not a good defender in isolation in a back four. Any Chelsea fan who wants to get at me for this, my DM's open, whatever. But I'm telling you right now, there's a Rudiger is a big
Max for us.
Rudiger is a big part of the reason. We won't go into this, but Rudiger is a big part of the reason that Lampard flopped. Rudiger in the back four is.
Do you know what? Rudiger in this back three, it suits him so well because he can be a free roaming defender. You know, as he just goes around and destroys. He's like a DM basically in the back three.
Yeah, that's Thiago Silva there.
There was one game they played Rudiger centre back and Alonso left back in the back four. Jesus Christ. Jesus.
Masha, Nibo.
Oh my day! Honestly, I've seen Sunday League games where there's better shape. Just better shape, man.
Hey, Alonso, eventually every manager comes in, they're thinking that Alonso's going to do something for them, and they all find out the same thing. It just happens.
With Maguire, what I would say, I mean, yes, he's 80 million, and yes, he doesn't suit the style of United.
That's a lot of, yes.
Yeah, it is. What I would say, obviously, United, they should have understood what his do's, his cans and can nots, his do's and don'ts. Don't play a high line with him, don't play full throttle football, and that's what they're doing, unfortunately. I use this is a comparison it's a comparison, but I'm not saying he's as good as this player. I'm not saying he's as smart as this player. This player is a legend, but they have similar traits. That player is, guess?
Don't say John Terry. Yeah.
I'm gonna say John Terry.
Oh my days,
Listen,
brother.
listen, like what I'm saying. If you put John Terry in a high
Grew up in
line,
the same house. You're coming up with
this
this.
is what I'm saying. Let me know. I'm not saying Maguire is as good as John Terry. John Terry is far greater than him.
Okay.
Let me
I'll
start
let you land.
that premise. But if you play John Terry in a high line consistently and ask him to defend one-on-one consistently, would you think of him as highly as you do now? If that was
Wait,
the case?
what age John Terry are we talking about?
Any age.
You're
any
talking
age.
about
any age.
I
Any age.
used like to use the Villas Boas John Terry because John Terry was old.
Any age.
Younger
Terry.
John Terry could cover space.
Every time we see John Terry for Chelsea, for the most part, they're defensive.
Low
He
block.
had the low block. He had his right back there, Paulo Ferreira defensive, and the left back there, William Gallas is just centre back. Eventually became Ashley Cole.
Carvalho, and who was just as good as him at one point.
Listen. Eventually, catch Ashley Cole, one of the best left backs of all time. Always had the defenders there, low block. If you told John Terry to defend in the high line consistently, defending one-on-one against guys who could run, let me land. Do you think John Terry would have been thought as high as he would do now?
So
Football wasn't played that way.
I know, but I have to give you the hypothetical scenario.
I partially take your point, but there's one big thing here now. We're talking about the actual ability to defend, and John Terry's a much better defender, yes.
Maguire, of course.
And he benefited from the low block, 100%. But the thing, you pay 80 million for a centre back, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to buy Varane to teach your centre back how to defend. And my point is that John Terry can be an anchor from a back four and coach other players.
Of course.
Varane, he's been coaching AWB, bruv. What's his name?
Wan-Bissaka's stock is done.
And that's why the comparison partially works, because yes, John Terry definitely benefited from a low block, and also to be fair to Harry Maguire, John Terry had better partnerships, really.
And not just that, so to interrupt you, the two DMs in front.
True.
Solid.
But
Makaleli, Essien,
No.
Balak,
No.
solid.
The Maguire thing though, the Maguire mistakes did not tend for him being in a high line. You look at
He's made some bozo mistakes, quite a few bozo mistakes.
If you look at some of the mistakes Maguire
Him
made,
and Shaw jump for the same ball.
Yeah, it's like they don't speak the same language. They both speak English, and why are they so close? And they do it constantly.
They both speak.
They do it constantly. They're right next to each other. How can you not know who's going for the ball? We had incidents where Maguire's pushing Shaw. The Spurs goal, the Liverpool goal, they're all the same thing. They're both in each other's way. That's a left back. Can you not communicate?
I'm telling you, the pathway to build out play, I don't want to say the pathway to victory because there's other issues United have, but the pathway to a somewhat solid defence is, I'm telling you, Varane, Lindelof. Both of them guys can play out. Varane leads Lindelof presses, Varane sets. Varane can coach Lindelof in a game. And I'm telling you, Lindelof, aside from in the air, is a better defender than Harry Maguire.
He's on the ground defender. He's like Christensen.
Do you trust Varane's leadership?
He's a bit quiet for my liking, but in terms of actually teaching you how to defend, a good defense plays off of one player. Like the line is off of one player. Press, hold, the shape, the how high we're gonna go throughout the game is off of one player. Maguire can't be that player, and he was never that player, and he got a lot of the credit and his transfers off of not only his performance at the World Cup and Leicester, but I'm telling you, the Leicester defender that was actually the reason they played so well, Johnny Evans.
Yeah.
Johnny Evans from the school of United, bro. This is what I mean by United don't have the I'm gonna say in the cabinet for like in the boardroom. They don't have the personnel who understand football, who understand football, can analyze this. Because, exactly.
But also, one thing we need to talk about with Varane, and this is the same for Van Dijk, with elite defenders, when you do how they conduct your defensive actions sets a tone for your team. And they see the way that Van Dijk conducts it. It's never with panic.
Composed.
Yeah, but Varane as well. It's never with panic. You don't feel a sense of danger. It's not rushed. It's not, oh, this is something I just need to clear it. Yeah. When Maguire completes his defensive actions, it is rushed. It is panicked. Therefore, that feeds into the back line. It's a mental thing as well. Yeah. That's why I would prefer if Varane is my leader, my leader centre back, the one that controlling and marshalling and telling people how to act. It will fool the other centre back, other defenders with a sense of calm. Therefore, you don't rush because you know that's my leader. He's there. That's what happened to Liverpool as well. It saves them because when Van Dijk conducts his actions defensively, if he's marshalling, he's jockeying, it's calm. It's not like, oh, we're in an immediate sense of danger. We've got this handled, and everyone comes back.
Okay, that's fine. Just to conclude on the football.
Team, TMG.